In this video, we're going to talk about data shortcut tools and employing the classic AutoCAD Wblock command to create and manage data shortcuts. Over in AutoCAD Civil 3D, we've created a classic drawing. We have a surface that is partially constructed. It's not yet complete, has a definition consisting of a point file and a whole bunch of break lines, came from a survey database, so we have a fairly already increasingly complex surface, and probably shouldn't have done my alignment design on top of this partially completed surface. If I'm smart in Civil 3D, I want to separate my surfaces so that I can manage and control them. I want to have a data reference really refer to the data itself. I also have horizontal control built in an alignment, a couple of profiles, and already a profile view. Horizontal and vertical control already done for my roadway based in part upon that surface. Luckily for me, classic Civil 3D data shortcut methodology allows me to separate these things out relatively easily. It's just a process of constructing what I need constructed out of here. If I employ a Wblock, so let's just select our viewer feature. So this happens to be a profile view. Because it's a profile view, it's referring to the alignment that underlies it. It's also referring to the surface that underlies it. That would certainly get me a drawing with a bunch of the critical stuff that I could data shortcut out of. We'll just type the Wblock command and see what we get. As an example here, I'm simply going to delete from the drawing the profile view that I have. We're going to call this drawing PV. You'll notice we're going to a project location. All we're extracting out is that viewer, which in Civil 3D refers to lots of other stuff. So when we say OK, yes, for in a coordinate system, we want to answer yes to that question. And we saw in the Wblock that we end up with a lot of stuff over in that drawing. Yes, in our current drawing, we no longer have a profile view. We still have the data definitions of the alignment. We still have the design profile, the EG that refers to the surface. We simply no longer have a profile view in this drawing. Those drawings are not referred to in any way. We still have a couple of offset alignments that are producing the right-of-way in our drawing currently. If we open that PV drawing, what do we get over here? We certainly got the profile view. We got the alignment because it's necessary to pass. So we ended up with our centerline alignment and our two profiles and our profile view. So we ended up with all that. But we ended up with some other stuff. We ended up with the surface. And what came over from the surface? Well, we have the point file. This is an indirect reference. We're actually referring to a file source, so that came over fine. We have a bunch of break lines. What are their properties? The break lines disappear because they were referring to figures that referred to a database over in the other drawing. So we really don't get, with a classic Wblock, exactly what we expect over in our profile view drawing. Also, we end up with stuff that we probably don't want in here. One, do we need the profile view itself? So we end up with styles, but we don't end up with a complete set of styles. We only get the styles that are referred to, and we can take a look at that and just look at alignment styles, and we'll see we end up with, interestingly, a couple of alignment styles came over. And profile view, we end up with the one profile view that we referred to and anything that was attached to it in terms of style references. If we employ the rename command, we can take a look at what other stuff came over. Well, we get a bunch of layers, we get a bunch of blocks, we probably get some text styles, we might even get a table style. Nope. Got a text style or two. Certainly got some plot styles because they're referred to in the layers that came over. Might have even got some line types. We don't end up with a drawing that's clean and just data. We end up with a whole bunch of referenced objects because of the way Civil 3D style works. Go back to the prospector and close the PV drawing. Go back to our drawing 2, which we could switch from the tool space and or switch drawings in AutoCAD 14 by the new tabs. I'm going to undo out of our Wblock command, bring back the PV. So how about if we just Wblock out the alignment? I want the alignment in the vertical control, my proposed vertical control. So let's give that a try. So grab the alignment, grab my alignment and my profile, design profile, and Wblock those out. Theoretically, those won't refer to anything except that profile and that alignment. We'll call this one A and P just as a shorthand, and delete those two objects from the drawing. So this is going to remove certain stuff from our current drawing. Once again, whoa, things happen. I certainly didn't get my offset alignments which were tied to it. They're now in effect no longer tied to that alignment in my drawing 2. And if I go over, open my A and P drawing, because the profile was in the PV, I get the profile, the alignment. Therefore, because I have that existing ground, I also get the surface. So that's not exactly what I wanted to do. So once again, let's close the A and P drawing. We don't need to save that. Go back to our drawing 2, undo out of my Wblock. Well, I could eliminate a couple of things that might work for me, and this will actually help me out. So into my alignments, I really don't need, if I remove my existing ground profile and simply delete it, and then too bad, can't select the profile from inside the tool space. However, if I simply select the alignment, and this time let's also select the other two pieces of horizontal control I want out there, Wblock those out. Let's just call that aligns. Say OK. Stuff's going to go out. If I open my aligns drawing, I no longer get the surface, which is good news. I do have the profile view. I do have the style issues. I do have still attached offset alignments, which I definitely wanted to maintain. End up with the alignment. End up with a profile view, which is easy enough to simply remove from the drawing. And I do get all my design elements in a drawing. However, drawing again still contains a whole bunch of layers, bunch of blocks, etc., that are all referenced by the styles, unless I'm extremely careful about changing all the styles and making sure that I'm using standard styles set up in my drawing before I do the Wblock. Let's close the Alliance drawing. So that would get us a drawing that's a lot cleaner. We could probably clean that drawing up in a few minutes without too much trouble. But as I said before, at the beginning of this video, standard practice in Civil 3D, the standard data shortcut method in practice makes it even easier than doing all that. Not that that's not useful on occasion, but back in my drawing, I simply go to the Manage tab. If I'm going to publish data shortcuts, I have to immediately do a save anyway. Make sure that everything's current, up to snuff, and I can create data shortcuts from this drawing. I can share my surface from here, share all my alignments, and publish those in my current project. So now that I have them shared out in my current project, get the offset alignments, center line, profiles, design, already removed my existing ground. I don't want that reference shared out there. So now they're all shared in my project, and I can create a new drawing. This drawing, which I already created, is based on a template that has absolutely no styles in it at all. The only styles that will appear in here are all standard styles, so simply took an AutoCAD template, fired it off in Civil 3D, and let the Civil 3D object model build the minimum level of styles. That way I have pure data, no style stuff in the way in my data shortcuts. And into this drawing, I want to make this my surface drawing. I want to go down to my data shortcuts, promote that EG surface into my current drawing. We're going to leave the name the same. My current drawing doesn't have any layers in it, doesn't have any styles in it, so now I have an EG with a definition and what actually got shared. It looks like nothing's here. What I end up with is, if I zoom to it, I do end up with a surface model. We'll use the object viewer, take a look at it. Shades of gray. I do definitely end up with all my break lines, since when I promoted it, it became a DTM model, and that's actually what we're sharing. So all the figure work ended up in the model, and all the point data, anything else in the surface, becomes a surface. To fix things in my project, now that I've got my surface, I want to remove my previously shared EG surface, which referred to my drawing 2 drawing over here. In my PS surface drawing, want to save, go to the Manage tab, create a new project shortcut that saves my EG from this naked drawing. We'll close my PS surface drawing, don't need that. Over in this drawing, I still have a surface called EG. I no longer need this drawing, need this at all, and so I'm going to get rid of it. I have a bunch of figures, so I'm just going to use quick select. Could go over to my survey database, and we're going to grab all the figures out of the drawing, simply select them all, include them in a new selection set, say OK. We're simply going to hit the delete key and make all those figures, which I no longer need or are merely part of the parcel reference, in there. Should be aware that I also end up with a site collection called survey, which you try to delete and will. You may end up with parcel segments and parcels. You select all, you end up with parcels. So if you bring figures in from a survey database in 12, 13, and 14, you'll end up with parcel segments which you really cannot remove from your drawing. So when you build surfaces, be careful that you only do it once and don't repetitively remove, and because you will get parcel segments that you really can't get to and really cannot delete. They won't hurt your drawing, but you do have sort of deleted references to them in your drawing file. Surfaces, we want to create a reference to our EG surface in the current drawing. Say OK, and we end up with our surface that we already saw referred to. So now we've extracted out and replaced our surface model with the data reference, giving us a lot more flexibility about how that affects the design, and we can obviously create a surface profile and add it to our profile view. Our alignments we also need to replace in here. They're currently shared out of this drawing. We need to, again, go through the process of creating a new drawing from a new styles template, set it up in the right coordinate system, etc. My drawing 3, I want to save it, and we're just going to save it as alignments.dwg. Into this drawing, I want to pour my offset alignments, create references to those. So we'll end up with an offset alignment as a reference. Let's just zoom to it. So there's one side of my right of way. Get on the other side. Again, create a reference to that. Both sides. Referring to, want my center line. Again, I'll create a reference to this. For profiles, do I end up with a reference because I dragged the alignment? In my current drawing, in my center line, I dragged the alignment, but I did not get the profile. So I definitely want to create the reference to the profile as well. If I had simply selected the profile, I would have gotten both. And while the profile isn't currently visible in my drawing, it exists in my drawing now. Go up and check that out. There's my profile. Everything is a reference. Did that on purpose as an example. What happens to my offset alignments? Since it's a reference, I can't affect it and change it. Well, maybe I should have done all those as promotions. Let's promote them all. And now they're all a local copy in this alignments drawing. And if I select this, because it came from a data shortcut, I lose that interoperability with my primary alignment. Ouch. So one of the bad news about doing it by the promote method is that you'll lose the interoperability. I'd like to keep that, so W-blocking out the alignment and the offset alignments into a drawing, and perhaps the profile information would keep all that stuff synced together in my output drawing. So that might be a good reason to use the W-block method this way. Now we can go down and clean up our data shortcuts. In our data shortcuts, our little website here, we no longer need this guy. We don't need the offset alignments. We don't need the design, and we don't need the profile. From our current alignments drawing, we go to the Manage tab. Always got to hit Save, so might as well do it. Create data shortcuts and publish all those back up into my project, and close my alignments drawing. In my drawing 2, I go through the process just like I did before of replacing those alignments with references. But let's think carefully about employing Wblock. Wblock would get me my alignment and the two connected and referenced alignments that I want to get, and it would probably get me my profile information. But I got some cleanup to do before I do that, and a style cleanup is definitely in order. So we certainly want to remove all the labels, so I have a label set that puts nothing in there for the alignments. And notice we're employing alignment group label to do the annotation. And our instant on products are full of that kind of nifty kind of style. But at this point, we don't want any references. We want to remove every reference that we can to every kind of style that we can before we do our Wblock. So we're pulling off all of that. We'll grab all three alignments since we can do these all at once. Change all the styles to standard. Now they're only going to be using Civil 3D. They're not modified in this template. Profile view, again, carries a bunch of style with it. The profile itself, there's the profile. Change this by the other, going to the profile box and change that to standard. Profile view properties will change by that same method. Could use the property box, could use quick select. Change that to standard. Hit apply. Say OK. And now our three alignments, our profile view, etc., have no style. However, they also may be going to layers that I don't want to carry around. Make sure that I already went through this before, so make sure that the layers are generic as possible. You're not carrying over that the objects actually sit on layer 0, so we're not carrying any layer references over. Oops, don't want the surface. Grab that offset alignment and check and make sure what you're going to Wblock out is all on layer 0. What if we don't want the profile view, but we want to get the alignment? How about if we just select the alignment, the two offset alignments that we definitely want over, not the surface. And how about if we Wblock those out? Now that we've cleaned them up, and we'll call this one aligns, and we'll delete those three objects from my current drawing, and we'll place anything that was there before, and go back and open that aligns drawing. And yes, we do get the profile. We do maintain offset alignments. They have offset parameters and they are tied to it. And if I move my horizontal control, my other alignments respond to it. I do have a design alignment. Don't really need the profile view in this drawing, just as a matter of cleanup in my current drawing. I'm simply going to zoom to save my current drawing. Now I want to share this up into my project out of my aligns drawing, into my project, down in my data shortcuts. I want to remove all the other references. When we create a reference, we are merely creating a link. In my aligns drawing, I want to go to the Manage tab, hit Save, Create Data Shortcuts, save everything up just to make things quick. Close my lines drawing, save my changes, and now I can happily reference in whatever I want from there. So let's go down and create a reference to my design profile. It is going to be an EG. So even though it doesn't appear, still drags over the alignment. Yeah, create a reference to these. I'll just put no labels on these for now. And create a reference to my other offset alignment. Save my drawing. So now I'm purely working from references from a drawing that started out with no references and all the data was in it and sucked up. We employed classic data shortcut sharing methodology to update. If I want to update my aligns drawing, which actually contains the real data at this point, you can see my source drawing file name. I can go over here, go over and reopen that drawing. Let's just move my horizontal control as an example. Save this drawing. Hop back over to alignment 2. Will tell me anything's changed. It'll resync my profile view. I want to create a profile view, so we'll go to the Home tab, create a profile view. Want lots of profile views in Instant On. We'll use a clipped-in grid here with majors only and create the profile view. So, did my whole alignment, make it over. You can always edit the labels. Let's import a label set. Do layout. So we get a bunch of labels. Say OK. Take my profiles property, and instead of it being existing ground, which is how it comes in by default, I'd like that to be a layout as well for now. I've got a whole profile view, and I'm back in the saddle using the data references that I created from this very same drawing.